Hello, friends and RC family. If you're new here, thank you for checking this channel out. My name's Alec from High Noon Hobby. If you're not new here, welcome back. Appreciate you checking in. This week, we are going to be looking at the last part of my three-part series of my first scale event. I can't believe that I squeezed this much video out of one event, but at the same time, I can believe it. I was having a lot of fun. So, guys, this time around, I am going to make this video again another pointed one about something that I want to talk about, and this is the mistakes that I made and also just kind of general mistakes that you want to avoid for your first scale event. So let's jump right into some of this footage of beautiful West Wendover, Nevada, what I like to refer to as Area 51. Our testing grounds, so to speak. These aren't all mistakes that I made at this first scale event, but I did make some of these mistakes, and I avoided some of these mistakes and kind of learned a few lessons both at this event and at following events. And so I want to give you guys this list as just a way to hopefully enjoy your first event even more than I did, or if you've already been to events, to enjoy your next event even more. So let's start off by saying that a lot of these events are held in remote areas. So be prepared to go out to the middle of BFE. And if you're not prepared to do that, both with your vehicle and with what you have in your vehicle or with your own mentality, that could start you off on the wrong foot. So be aware, not all the time, but especially here in Utah, a lot of our scale events end up kind of out in remote locations, as off-highway vehicle areas tend to be, besides Sand Hollow, which is really nice that it's really accessible, but not all places are like that. So let's go through a quick checklist of just some general rules of thumb for going out to remote locations. First would be bring water. Stay hydrated. That's the most important thing, and that is a mistake that I made at this scale event. I did not bring nearly enough water. And I wasn't making constant enough stops to keep myself hydrated, and I definitely didn't feel as good at the end of the day as I could have if I would have been keeping better track of that. The second mistake that I also did make was bring food. And this is going to depend on how long your event is scheduled for, but if it's scheduled for more than a couple hours, or even if it is scheduled for a couple of hours, it's definitely a good idea to bring a snack or two. And then if it's scheduled for more than a couple of hours, think about bringing some sort of meal to make if they haven't already planned that for you in some way. Okay, so this is a mistake that I didn't personally make because I've learned this lesson the hard way enough times to not make this mistake anymore, but that's always bring first aid, right? If you're going to a remote location, or even if you're not going to a remote location, if you're going to be outside and you're going to be hiking around, especially on rock formations, like the type of rock formations that we enjoy on these little RC, or in these little RC crawlers, you're going to want to bring some sort of first aid. It doesn't have to be much at all, right? You don't have to bring an entire EMT bag, but covering your basics for EMT, or covering your basics for first aid is definitely going to play in your favor, as opposed to not bringing anything at all. Also, the law of gross numbers here plays favorably for us. The more people that we can have bring first aid gear, the more likely that that first aid gear is going to be accessible if it's necessary to someone who maybe didn't bring their own first aid pack. So, just like I kind of mentioned beforehand, know where you're going, know whether or not it is a remote location. If it is a remote location, know what your resources are that are around you. You know, if you get into a sticky situation, how are you going to get out of it? Is there a hospital nearby? Is there a town nearby? Is there someone that you know nearby? Also, if you're going out to a remote location, especially with a group of people that you haven't met before, even though I love the RC community very much, I would say let someone that you know and knows you well, let them know that you're going somewhere and when you expect to be back. That's just always a good rule of thumb, and you should probably be doing that on hikes or anything else as well. If you're going to be going out by yourself or even with a group of people, it's a good idea to let someone else who's not coming with you know when you're expected to be back and where you're going in case you don't come back. Okay, so also knowing what type of competition that you're going to is very useful. It's not 100% necessary, and it's not always 100% possible when you're going to the first event that you are experiencing with a certain group. You may not know exactly what their style of event is, but generally speaking, these groups are pretty good at posting details about the event in the Facebook post or the post on their website beforehand. So go ahead and take a look at those things and just make sure that you familiarize yourself with what type of event it is. That's gonna make sure that you have the best time that you possibly can. If you think that it's a run what you brung type of event where it's just social and you can bring whatever and just have fun, and it ends up being a 10 gate super competitive with a $10 buy-in, you might not have as much fun as you expected to have when you were on your way out there and it took an hour to get out to wherever you're going. So make sure you know what type of competition you're getting into, and if you don't know what type of competition you're getting into, keep an open mind. It could be anything, and there's lots of different types of competitions that people run, especially around here. Okay, so bring spare parts would be another good rule of thumb. This is something where I didn't make this mistake, and I was really glad that I didn't, because I learned the value of bringing spare parts when I did it at this very first event. Now, how do you go about bringing spare parts? How do you go about knowing what spare parts you should bring? That's going to come down to how you drive, what type of truck you drive, and what you think you're going to need. If you are unsure, unfamiliar with your truck, or you just don't quite know what you should be bringing, just kind of sit down and assess what you think your weakest link in your truck is, or kind of maybe the bottom 3 or 4 things that are your weak links, and choose those things and bring those as spare parts. And if you're unfamiliar with your truck, or you're not sure exactly what those weak links could be, consider checking out some forums or just making some Google searches. I'm sure that other people have asked these questions as well for your specific truck, and you can use their questions as fuel for your own knowledge. The answers to those questions should help you figure out exactly what spare parts you need to bring, at least as a good kind of general blanket. And then from there, once you go to your first event and you come back and you break some things, you'll figure it out and you'll start seeing some patterns, and you can just be bringing those spare parts. For me, at this event, as you've seen in my first video from this series of 3 videos of my first scale competition or scale event, I was very glad to bring a spare motor, and I knew that I was going to need a spare motor, or I was pretty sure I was going to need a spare motor, because I put a ton of weight on my truck and I didn't change any of the electronics. So I brought a spare motor and a spare ESC just in case anything went wrong, and it went wrong within the first quarter of the course. So I was very glad to have spare parts on that one. Okay, so another good rule of thumb, and this is a super quick one and should be pretty commonsensical, but bring as many batteries as you got. Especially if you're going to a multi-hour event, you're going to need a lot of batteries. For me personally, now that I'm running multiple rigs and that these rigs are heavy, some of them at least, I have to bring basically an ammo box full of batteries, as well as battery chargers and an inverter so that I can charge batteries while I'm out there. So you never want to run out of batteries. It's always bad time, and you can avoid that just by bringing more of them. Biggest rule of thumb, guys, remember to have fun. It's all about having fun. It's all about making new friends. I think that if you come away from this event, you come home at the end of the night and you haven't made at least a few new friends, you're missing out, because this RC community is absolutely fantastic. Everyone I've met has been wonderful, and they're there to be friends with you. So go ahead and be social, be outgoing. I think you won't regret it. All right, guys, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like. If you want to see more content like this, go ahead and subscribe to High Noon Hobby. I appreciate all of your guys' support so far, and definitely more videos coming soon, twice a week. Next video, let's see, next week sometime. I'm not sure when this one's going out, if this is a Friday or Sunday, but Fridays and Sundays is going to be my days, I think. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.